What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer taking a look at Ice Barrier. This is my most updated list with the new support that is coming out whenever it does. So let's get started. 3 copies of Imperm. I do run 2 copies of Nibiru and 1 Kaiju. So interestingly enough, Ice Barrier can basically search you a Kaiju from the deck, and your opponent can't respond to it. They basically will never see it coming. So it's a really good tool going second. And then Nibiru is there too, technically, because I do play Adamantipator Dragite, and if you do reveal a rock monster, you get to shuffle things back, and it has come up. Now, having Nibiru on your field can be tough because you need water monsters, but luckily, the new monster, which is insanely accessible, it basically contribute this card and take the tokens. So it does, besides being a good card on its own, there are other synergies in the deck that make it work. And then 3 copies of Ash, that's just generic. 2 copies of Ice Jade, Ran Argarine, I don't know how to say this name. Basically, you get to pitch a card, so it works really, really well with Mirror Magic Master. It's like the perfect combo. It can help you get into the new Ice Barrier Synchro, or it can help you get into the Ice Jade Synchro too, and both are pretty much equally good. Although the Ice Jade one is probably the safer pick. Also protects you from things like Evenly Matched, so it's worth mentioning. 1 copy of Swordsman of the Ice Barrier. This is one of the new cards. It's insanely easy to get out of the deck. It is searchable at all times. Ice Barrier can search it. You don't need multiple copies, at least in my opinion. 3 copies of Abyss Shark. This helps you get into Stealth Kragan, which is obviously just a really good engine. The whole idea around this deck, if you've never played it before, at least to me, is Warlock. This is a anti-spell fragrance. Oh, jeez. Anti-spell fragrance. Basically, as a monster. It literally is, and it's actually better. Cannot activate the set spell card until the end of their next turn, which is unreal. It's just an unbelievably powerful card that will win you games on its own. And I think the focus of this deck, and there's so many different combos that you can do, and so many different monsters you can bring out. But as long as you stay focused when you're playing the deck, and remember when you're going first, this is the most important card, right? It gets rid of Lightning Storm, Dark Ruler, Triple Tactics Talents, Thrust. Basically all the best going second cards in the game are spells, or most of them, besides in archetype field spells and spell cards, just everything. This card is unbelievable, and it just makes the game so much simpler to play, because you literally, doesn't matter what your opponent has in your hand, you don't have to deal with spell cards. So it just takes so many cards out of the equation when you're playing anybody. But in any case, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Yeah, so Abyss Shark obviously helps you get the Stealth Kragan. Crystal Shark is just one of those searchable cards. Sometimes you need a Synchro Summon, so the reason why I play the 1 Silent Angler, besides just being a generic extender, so it doesn't really matter that it's only at 1, it kind of serves the same purpose. But, sometimes you want to be able to use these for Synchro. This locks you into XYZ, so both options are good. This is good discard fodder from the hand. It's not bad to see ever. There's 3 copies of Revealer. This card's unbelievable. Doesn't make you discard, so you're kind of just leaving yourself vulnerable most of the time. So that's unfortunate, and that's part of why Ice Barrier just is okay. But being able to bring a tuner out from the deck, obviously, is very powerful if it goes through. That's the new, Mirror Magic Master card. That's this card, which is unreal to be able to special summon a level 6 tuner from the deck that also brings something else out. But most of the time, you're going to go into your guy, Hexa Spirit. And again, this combo is just better because before, if you had Hex in your hand, your turn was over, or you'd play multiple copies, which you would never do because that's not good. But, now you can basically normal summon Revealer, pitch this, bring out the new one, bring this back, and then you're on your way, right? Nothing has changed other than you have an extra body. So that's obviously just a very good interaction and fixed a lot of the holes that was the problem with this deck. 3 copies of Speaker. This is just obviously a free special summon from the hand. Helps you go into Totally Awesome, and also gives you a token for Link Summoning or Synchro Summoning. This is a very good card. Warlock, I talked about that extensively. This card is unbelievable. It's a searcher. It fills in everything, right? You needed something to have an effect on discard. It helps you Synchro Summon. Basically, this searches any Ice Barrier card too, by the way. So you can search Winds over the Ice Barrier, which is great recursion and also just very flexible. There's such a high ceiling for this deck, 100%. 1 copy of Fairy of the Goatee. I like to Synchro Summon into this card during my opponent's turn. It's one of the better interactions that you can do. And this card helps you do it all. This is decent discard fodder too. But a lot of the times, like Synchro 6 is the most common thing you can get to. And this is literally the best Synchro 6 water in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, yeah, it just kind of works. And it's also a pretty decent form of interruption. You could go all the way with the Goaty engine, but at that point, I feel like you should just play Goaty. Talked about Hexa. 1-for-1, obviously, if you can get this out for free, that's great. Because then it can also just search you anything. So it's really worth playing. 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods for Ice Barrier. Again, if you see Ice Barrier, it doesn't matter because you're discarding most of the time. Foolish Burial to get this into the graveyard. Just more and more copies of everything. Medallion is absurd. It's a non-once per turn Omni Searcher for monsters, which is great. Called by the Grave, you definitely want to have your protection the best that you can for something like Revealer. And then Winds of the Ice Barrier basically just lets you bring anything out from the deck. Works really well when you can get 3 tokens on the board, and then you can just like bring out 3 bodies, and then you can do some like more powerful synchro plays. So that's okay. And I'm sure you can get a lot more creative with it than I have, but I try to simplify the deck as much as possible. 1 copy of the new Lancia. This card's good. Also, though, it can like miss timing a lot, unfortunately. And I'm not even going to get into the specific rulings, so I'm not going to act like I understand them. I'm like glad I play this deck on a simulator, because otherwise I just wouldn't understand when this card, wouldn't activate. Like sometimes these just die, even though it's supposed to be a synchro summon. I don't know, but yeah. This card's very good. You can bring things out from the deck. I don't run like Ryo because it stinks to see in your hand. And it's also just like, okay, it's very specific. It's not when your opponent activates any monster effect anywhere. If that was the case, I'd have a much different opinion on it. But it's only on the field, and so much of Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not happen on the field. And you just don't really want to depend on it. Sometimes it can win you games, I guess. If you're playing, I don't know, like Rescue Ace or something like that. Okay, maybe. Like, that would be a good card to side in, but I wouldn't main deck it. The original Trishula 0, these cards are just very good. You can hard make them easily now, or you can cheat them out through Lancia. I talked about the Ice Jade. It protects your monsters, helps you banish like field spells, continuous spells, which is very good in this format, obviously. That Sarcophagus deck is all depending on that. Dragite is just very general good removal, spell and trap negation. Talked about the Goaty stuff. Crystron Quandax. I've actually used this as a rank 4 before, or, you can use it just as a 4 tuner, and sometimes you can synchro summon. There's been some cases where, I can make the 4 synchro, and then I have, like, Crystal Shark in the graveyard. Well, this would be a decent option, because it only locks you into XYZ summoning during your turn, obviously. So you can use the 2 together to make Shen Shen, and I just feel like, in general, this card's very underrated and can win you games, and that's why I play it, but these are 2 probably flex spots that you could play anything that you wanted in there, and it wouldn't really change the end result too much. Stealth Kragan, I do want 1 copy of Spawn. I don't know, I just think this is so good. Like, the one thing that is awesome is that if you use your Toad, and then your opponent ends up getting rid of your Stealth Kragan, so Toad's going to add back once. It's not a once per turn, any of these effects, right? They're all soft. So Stealth Kragan can come back and then attach Toad. So when they get rid of the Spawn, your Kragan comes back, but also you get another add back to your hand for Toad. It's a really good interaction, like specifically I think for this deck. Bahamut Shark. There's definitely, I tried to run the XYZ armor stuff, but you can't get like all the materials off that you need, unfortunately. Otherwise it would be kind of cool. Coral Enemy helps you, a lot of times bring back Warlock, but one of the stars, or one of the best, basically, just performs removal in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is this card if you can play it. It's for water decks, like, specifically, of course, because you can lock yourself into water. You are doing the banishing when you do Zelantis. It's very interesting the way this card works. So if you are walked into waters and you banish everything, your opponent can't bring their cards back, because you are the one performing the special summon, and you cannot special summon water monsters. It's really weird. I didn't think about this, at first, but yeah, this has won me duels for sure. If your opponent goes all out, and this is just like game ending sometimes. The Coral Enemy can definitely help you get there pretty easily. Getting material for it is not difficult at all. All right, that is the deck profile. Let me show you very quickly the main line combo, or what your average combo is going to look like, and then I'll show some gameplay at the end. This is a very good opening, right? Being able to pitch things is fantastic. You can go for the Ice Jade. Sometimes it's better to go for the Lancia, though, because if your opponent does Nibiru you, which is, sucks really badly, at least it'll like turn into Trishula and you get another card out of their hand. So they're only playing with 3, and that's like okay. And then, here comes the Ice Barrier stuff. Abyss Shark, that's going to help me get into Stealth Kragen. And this board is like super underrated. So, they could bring that back. And I don't have to worry about spell cards at all. And if my opponent tries to normal something, to get over Warlock, of course I have the answer for it. And then this is just an Omni Negate. Again, when you don't have spell cards to worry about, especially like Dark Verlin or more, this card just becomes like 1,000 times more powerful. And then this was kind of the cherry on top to see the Ice Shade monster. This is just a very good card in general. So this is like an end board that I think is like a really great focus. Plus this is follow-up, right? This turns into Quandax during your opponent's turn, and you can really start to push for game, assuming they get over anything on your board. All right, let's take a look at a couple of replays here. Here's against Tier Limit, and you can just see how powerful this is. Again, just having these discards is so cool because I'm going to be able to, get the Revealer, and then I can still, again, discard, which is great. Being able to discard Ice Barrier then helps me search Abyss Shark. And I think this is the same end board except with Lancia, like I talked about in that combo video, or the combo I just showed, excuse me. All right, those can turn into the Coral Anemone, and then, you got to make sure you order it right, or else you won't have enough monsters on the board. But there we go. I'm going to bring this back, and, Toad, once it uses its negate, like Lancia is now online to start bringing things out from the deck, especially the new tuner. So he is going to fusion summon, but he's not going to be able to get anything too great, obviously. And then there we go. He can't activate monster effects in the graveyard. The new like extra deck monster does stop you from like 3,000 in attack more, and I guess my Synchro does do that. But yeah, Stealth Kragen's like a pretty low attack, like 1,900. It's just a really great card in general. And I think I'm playing around pretty much everything. I'm assuming this guy probably has like tier names in his hand, or like maybe even a bunch of spell cards. Yeah, Foolish Burial, that's not going to do anything. So yeah, kind of interesting, and obviously just the strength of Ice Barrier and what makes it very unique from other decks. Let's go over to like Dinomorphia. Why not? I'll just start showing these off. Again, it's very consistent just because everything searches everything. Being able to search the high level tuner, and then being yeah, I mean, just like the ceiling is so much better. You're not restricted in anything when you search. And here I go. I'm searching again for every card in my deck. Here goes Bahamut Shark. I think it's pretty much just going to be the same end board, but my opponent is also not going to be able to activate monster effects in the graveyard, which is very nice. There we go. I can go into the goatee stuff now. So instead of Stealth Kragen, right, because I don't have access to it, I don't have a Abyss Shark in my hand. I do need to be able to protect my Warlock. Otherwise, a normal summon just makes the end board useless. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and pop one of his back row. And this engine is so great because you can just bring it back again and then use it for like synchro material. And that just, again, everything helps. Pretty good end board, right? Pretty good. Let's show off a... this is like, I don't even remember what this guy was playing, but it is extremely resilient in that you can never like, it feels like you can never fully get rid of like the cards that you make once you get your engine going. So there goes the Imperm. So that's unfortunate, but I can replace that with Warlock, and then I can bring this out, bring something back, and maybe go into like Lancia. As soon as he special summons, he's going to be out of spell cards, but he did have Super Poly as well. But there we go. Trishula comes out. Now he only has one card in hand. And the card that special summoned the one from the deck, I can now add back to my hand, and then you can rebuild your board really quickly. So even though my opponent seemed to have like a lot of cards, like really good cards, I just kept coming back, and I was like, I think that's a really interesting, replay. Here's another one. This is actually just, I really like mess up badly on my end board here. But, oh my gosh, like you'll just see in a second, like how powerful and like how much recursion the deck can get. And I think this is where Stealth Kragen comes in too. When like the spawn comes out. Yeah, and I think I built this in reverse, like this entire combo here. It's very interesting in the way that you can get to certain lines. Yeah, this is unfortunate because I forgot that, I did not, put Warlock down. I should have gone and brought back like one of my 4s and gone into the Lancia. I guess it wouldn't have really mattered, but yeah, so, the spawn comes out, Toad added back, and, like, now Toad is a material for this. So when this leaves the field, I get another add back with Toad. And I've already start building back, right? I have Winds in the graveyard, so it's going to be another card I get to add to my hand. He has like everything. It was very annoying, but he does go for linkage, but it doesn't matter because Trishul is obviously like the anti, Sky Striker card because you can get rid of their Ray and their Link monster at the same time. There's nothing really that they can do about it. Yeah, like I'm just starting over, which is pretty crazy. Like it's all in Engine 2. There goes Trishula. Like I already knew which cards were set, so there we go. His Ray is gone. I can just keep going, and I still have wins, and that's just really nice. Okay, I'll play same thing here just to wrap up my thoughts. This is Horus, of course, right? The entire deck is built around a spell card, and if you can't activate it, that's pretty hard for your strategy. I think he had other cards too, like Trade In, and just anything else. Like you think about the most generic cards in the game, like Prada Prosperity, and you simply cannot play them. You just can't find those answers as easy. So I really like Iceberry. Let me know how you guys play this. I know this isn't the traditional form and the way that most people play Iceberry, but let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that's going to do it for today's video, and I will see you guys next time.